Well, Bob, it's 2009. Who knew?
Yeah.
We made it, and best of all, despite the less than positive economic news, you've had a good first day.
We had a great first day. This is the best Thursday we've ever had. We've sold more tickets, more parking passes, and you can see a bigger crowd at noon today than any Thursday before. We've got a really top-quality group of exhibitors here. More inside than in the past, a few less outside, most notably Cirrus, but there are some others that aren't here. Some of our exhibitors from the past have scaled down from 4 booths to 2 or 3 to 1, but most of the big names are here, and Cirrus has a dealer here. They're just not corporately here.
So basically, folks are doing what they need to survive, but it would seem to be that the interest remains high.
The crowd interest remains high, and exhibitor interest remains high. You know, it's really going quite well, despite a very cold morning this morning when we had frost on the tents and that sort of thing.
At this point, how would you judge the health of the LSA industry?
I'd say the LSA industry is probably about like a lot of the other industries that are being impacted by the economy. There are still good businesses doing good business. So there's going to be a shakeout, and I think everybody knows that. In the LSA community and the LSA overall, it's doubtful that the market can sustain that number of dealers who are trying to sell airplanes into that market. Probably not as bad as, but something like the 50s or the late 40s, when for a while everybody made airplanes, but nobody sold them. And suddenly they were out of business. And there's going to be some of that in the LSA market. I see a great deal of renewed interest, though, in such things as flat panel displays, electronics, instruments, radios, all of those things that when we first started doing LSA, it was kind of take this radio out of a standard aircraft and put it in an LSA, and now I see a movement toward making tailored packages for LSA. People looked at LSA originally and thought, well, they're all going to fly just old VFR kind of aircraft with very little electronics in it. But people who buy LSAs want flat panels, they want moving maps, they want weather, they want the other things that they became accustomed to in standard aircraft, for instance.
Cirrus Design's Vision SJ50 single-engine personal jet offers exceptional fuel efficiency, flexible seating for up to 7, advanced avionics, and all the Cirrus safety features you expect, including the Cirrus airframe parachute system. With its detailed design, the Cirrus Vision is technologically advanced, yet engineered to be simple to fly, to allow owner pilots more lifestyle pursuits than any other personal aircraft. Learn more about the Vision SJ50 at cirrusdesign.com.
It's interesting to note that the Sport Aviation Expo served as Garmin's launching point for the GDO 370 and 375, a derivation of the 695, 696 portables, now for panel mount specifically for LSA and experimental movements.
Sure, and Garmin told me this afternoon they'd had more people in their booth than they did the first 2 full days last year. So they're doing well. Aircraft Spruce here today told me they've been selling faster than they can stack stuff. It's an interested crowd.
It's just a matter of how much money's in the pocketbook to be interested with.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And LSA is not like buying a small Chevy. There's a certain amount of money that goes into buying an LSA. You know, there's a certain amount of money it takes, and people who can afford them want that stuff in their aircraft.
Absolutely. If there is advice you would give to the LSA industry right now about not just weathering out this storm, but looking at the future, what are the lessons that seem to be prominent right now for the LSA community?
Well, it seems to me, and I'm not in the LSA marketplace, I'm just a show guy, but it seems to me that there are going to be a lot of excellent aircraft that fail because of poor business practices. And there are going to be some aircraft that are marginal that are going to succeed because they have a good business practice, they have a good plan, they have a good approach, they have good financing. So it would seem to me, if I were in the business of LSA, I would make sure that my business practices were really tuned up.
the support from the industry. I'm talking about EAA, FAA, and so forth. Are they really starting to take LSA as seriously as this movement deserves?
You've seen the Cessna display here.
Absolutely.
You've seen what Gabosh is doing, what Remos is doing. Yes, the FAA is here with 2 booths in addition to quite a few inspectors and that sort of thing. We're seeing a lot of interest. We're seeing the finance companies come here. We're seeing the training companies come here and exhibit. We're seeing people who are in all those sorts of things that make the industry an industry instead of just buying and selling airplanes. So it's growing, and I think the support is growing with it.
You've heard of this thing called WAS, right? The Wide Area Augmentation System lets you fly GPS glide path approaches without relying on ground-based landing aids. No VOR, no ILS, no problem. Fact is, WAS is so smart, it even knows what you're going to say next time you need it. And don't have it on board. Wah, wah, I want my WAS now! I was really crying there for a second.
Well, speaking of growing, obviously the Expo is growing. It's doing well. What kind of changes have you made in the event, and what kind of changes do you expect for the future?
Well, we haven't made an awful lot of changes because we've been successful at what we were doing. We've expanded. We've tried to make the place look nicer, plant more plants, do those sorts of things. We have tried very hard to keep our exhibitors happy, because if we get exhibitors coming back, the crowd will come. If you don't have exhibitors, you don't have anything. So we worked hard on that. We've worked very hard with our volunteers to keep them a cooperative, good bunch of people to work both with the exhibitors and the crowd. So those are the big things. Our layout hasn't changed radically since the second year, and we can expand or decrease the size of it merely by pulling the fence in closer toward the concrete if we have to. This year, we're down maybe 24 exhibit spaces out at the far side. Mm-hmm. Last year, that held maybe 18 exhibits. So we're down that number. However, we're up by 20 or more inside, right, as kind of a trade-off. And I think we may see that happen more. Mm-hmm. More inside, less outside, although I don't want to see it. But I think that maybe what will happen in the industry.
And plans for the Expo for the future, where do you see this going?
Well, it isn't going anywhere. It's going to be right here at Sebring. However, I have been asked by at least 2 other sites to talk to them about our budget, how we set it up, what they could do, and so on and so forth. And to this point, we've cooperated with them. We think it's good for the industry to have this kind of a show. Obviously, we don't want this kind of a show located 20 miles away a week earlier or later. But on the other hand, a show like this located in California or in the upper Midwest in some other month or 2 away, you know, it isn't going to hurt us. No. We've got good exhibitors who will come back here. And so we aren't going out to try to build competitors. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, we're not shying away from helping people in the industry who can make a replica of this successful somewhere else.
Let's face it, the more activity and the more focus you can put on this movement, the better.
Sure, absolutely right. And we'll do our part.
Well, Bob, from everything we've seen here, full speed ahead. Nice job so far, and as always, just a great place to be this time of year, and we thank you.